we go. There's gonna be a lot of dog noises in this video, I think.
I think so.
We'll just get this cape on you.
All right.
Mic ya. Episode 1, potentially. So this is my brother, and our first episode of whatever we're gonna call this.
What matters with matters.
What matters? Stuff.
What matters to you, what matters to me.
So what are you looking for in a haircut?
Okay, so I actually am looking to get one fixed. I just got my hair cut about a week ago.
Don't say where.
I won't. It's out of state, so
Okay.
They won't know. But basically, they did kind of what I'm asking for, but a little too long, and it just seemed like it was done okay. Like it wasn't super well like blended and stuff. So I like the general idea. I'd like my part to stay here, kind of go for that throwback 90s-ish part and a little something hanging here.
Yeah.
But and then it would kind of comb back a little bit.
Yeah. To me, it feels like heavy in here, out through here, and it doesn't like flow.
Yeah.
It just kind of falls heavy.
It flops a
and
little
then
bit.
in the back, it also just kind of like, it's not bad, but it's just kind of chopped, kind of to the general. Do you want it to be more fringy, or do you want it, like, he kind of took that away?
I don't mind it looking cleaner back there. I feel like
to being more lined up and
yeah, and it can go shorter, tapered down to the back and shape. Yeah.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Cool.
So, Steven, you got married pretty young compared to a lot of people nowadays. What was some of the best advice and worst advice you got coming into that relationship, going into marriage?
Well, coming into that relationship was funny. I went through this program called the Sight and Sound Conservatory, so it was a performing arts program. About a year long, and there's 10 students, at least there was at that time, 10 students per year. So I was one of 2 males, and our class only had 9 students, so there were 7 girls. And after the first couple days, I was like, okay, I am not here to find a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Partially because I was terrified about the idea of a girlfriend. But also I was trying to be focused on, my future and what might come from this program I was going through. So I wanted to be focused on studies and stuff. And so it was not my intention to find someone. And also I was just kind of the one in the family, as you know, to keep my distance and not be super vulnerable or open. And I really, truly thought I would be the last person in my family to get married.
And so did everyone else.
And so did everyone else. But yeah, it was interesting. So we started getting to know each other better. And yeah, our thing we always connected on was ping pong. There was a ping pong table
Nice.
at the theater. So we would, even during intermission of the show, we would run up and play some ping pong and stuff. So yeah, we were good friends and obviously had interest in one another. But it took me forever to say anything about it. So probably the first advice was from you to to just tell her I liked her. I would say that's good advice. And probably advice I would give other people too. Don't wait so long.
Yeah.
If it's obviously a thing, just let it be a thing. Yeah, you don't have to become the perfect version of yourself before you can open up yourself to somebody else. But yeah, I think I was waiting for that. Also, kind of didn't want to go back on my word to myself. So I remember at one point I thought, Lord, like, please stop this. If this isn't supposed to happen, please stop this from happening. But I think it was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen. So anyway, something funny was before we had even, we had then talked at this point about our feelings for each other, and we were kind of, okay, we're kind of a thing. Someone approached both of us at lunch, and they were like, hey, congrats you two. I think you guys are great together. And we hadn't even decided we were dating yet. It was the most awkward moment, but it was funny.
That's hilarious.
And so then we were like, okay, I guess we should talk about this.
Yeah.
But honestly, did not have a lot of people approaching us with advice. I think I was a person that was afraid of not being able to do things on my own. So I didn't really seek out wisdom from other people, which is something I would change if I would go back. For sure. Because for anybody going into a relationship, I mean, man, there's so many things that are hard to navigate and to do well. So I could have used some mentorship there, but I didn't want it.
Yeah.
So I didn't really seek much out. But
what was the biggest thing holding you from getting that mentorship? Was it not knowing who to go to? Was it not knowing what to say if you had it? Was it afraid of what the accountability would look like?
Yeah, I think so. I think, honestly, the easy answer is I'd never been vulnerable, really, with many people. Not by choice, anyway. Maybe some stuff in like youth group or whatever, but I hadn't really ever had accountability for anything. And I think if I would have opened up about feeling inadequate or weak or like I needed help with that, I think it would have opened up my need for help in other areas of my life too. So I think it was just me kind of staying comfortable.
Kind of your safe zone.
Yeah, staying safe and not too seen. Yeah. I was always good at keeping a pretty good image, and so I think I would have been, in my mind,
jeopardizing the image?
Jeopardizing what I think people thought of me. Yeah.
Or what you wanted them to think of you? Or?
Yeah, what I think most of them did think of me. I think I put up a pretty good front of having it together. So I remember there was someone in our circle around us that was kind of it was a couple around us that was giving a little bit too much PDA, and it was just a little too uncomfortable for people around them. And someone came up to us and was like, basically, I'm proud of you guys for doing it right. And there were some things in our relationship that we weren't proud of and that we weren't doing right. And so that was kind of like a oof. So not a lot of, I didn't really give opportunity for a lot of people to pour into me in that time. And I could have used that for sure. And it's kind of fun and cool to now even be that for some people in my life now who are in relationships that are headed for marriage and stuff. And be able to be real about some difficulties that come with being committed to someone, and challenges that come with that beyond the obvious, especially growing up in a Christian environment. Purity is always a priority and held so high that I think sometimes that's the only thing we think about. And the only
purity
thing,
meaning not having sex.
Yeah.
Before
not
you're
having
married.
sex before you're married, and not being sexual. Waiting to have any kind of sexual intimacy with someone until you are married is a huge value for the environment and the circles that I have been in and am still in. But yeah, it's cool to see that there's more going on behind the scenes and more nuance to relationships than just waiting for physical stuff. So yeah, it's been cool to learn from my mistakes and my closedness, and to meet some people who are willing to be vulnerable. So that's been rewarding.
Where were some places in your life that you actually found yourself that you're able to be a more vulnerable person? Were there certain people that kind of drew it out of you? Or was it kind of a time where you're like, I need to find these people because this isn't working anymore?
Yeah, I think I've learned from a lot of people in my life. My wife knows this, that when I think of like the love of God or the love of Jesus, I think my mind has always thought like, unconditional, no matter what, you're accepted kind of love. And I think the first time that I really felt like, wow, I'm like accepted by a person was with my wife, Emily. And anyone who's been in a relationship with someone, especially, at least from in my experience, like early on, like you can do no wrong in each other's eyes.
Yeah.
You're just, even your really corny jokes are funny, and you're always supportive in that kind of way. And I was like, man, I feel so supported by this person. Like, even when I feel like I'm being awkward.
Yeah.
So I think she's inspired me to be more myself and be able to be, quirky, but also vulnerable and weak in things, and it can be okay. There's actually a story, I've said this to you before, but something, anyone who has siblings, especially brothers or, I don't know, maybe sisters to sisters, but also with twins, there can be a lot of comparison between each other. So, yeah, something that happened in high school was there was a friend between us that we both have that I guess was sharing some stuff with you and some harder stuff about his life. And I think you asked him, like, hey, why don't you talk to Steven about some of this? Maybe he could have some advice. And he said, oh, I can't talk to Steven about this kind of stuff. He's too perfect. And that's one that stuck with me forever. It took a long time for me to actually let that, I think it took a long time for that to actually open me up. But that was one of the first things I think that told me my vulnerability is keeping me from relationships with people, and it's keeping me from being able to have
this genuine relationships.
Relationships that will be honest and open and talk about harder things. So, but after a while, I kind of had a big shift of, I moved from Pennsylvania to I moved from Pennsylvania to Missouri, which is far from home. I had to basically, my entire circles just changed to a whole crowd of new people. So it was kind of a cool opportunity to start over in a way. So I was in this new community of people, and I kind of felt a freedom to be able to try to be more myself and be more honest. And some of that was super scary. It's a super scary thing to do, but I think in doing that more and more, I found like, oh, these people aren't rejecting me like I thought they would when they find out that stuff's, you know, that I'm not perfect in things, and that I can be a messy person. Like, yeah. So I think I just, by the grace of God, just began to find experiences, know people, and I think I just grew tired of the mask of being good enough. And I knew that it wasn't actually bringing me what I wanted, which was to be close to people.
So switching up dynamics, switching up places kind of opened you up.
Yeah.
And then would you say that there was like specific people that allowed you that to open up faster than you thought? Like, do you find specific people that were real influential in when you would open up, feeling comfortable to do that in a safe environment?
Yeah. I would say actually there's a buddy of mine that is in Pennsylvania, but funny enough, once I moved away is kind of when we started to get to know each other better. But we would call each other once a week, and man, we would call each other once a week, and we kind of were on the same track in terms of like, hey, I don't think I've ever really been vulnerable or open with someone. And so we kind of felt like we were in it together, and like we couldn't do it wrong, really. So we were both sharing a lot of deep stuff about our pasts and our life. And he's the person I think I first guy friend anyway, that I felt really comfortable, and man, like we could say anything and talk about anything. And neither of us were trying to, even advise each other too much. We were just kind of sharing in it. And
that's really neat.
Yeah. And that friendship definitely opened me up the most, I think, to be able to be safe and see that, wow, okay, I can let the truth about myself be out in the open and still be okay and live my life and not be discounted or judged into despair.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what would you say your best piece of advice to someone is who's really struggling to be vulnerable but trying to find those people to be vulnerable with?
Man, that's a good question. I feel like I would say, for one, everyone is messy. And because everyone is messy, especially if someone's your friend, chances are they're gonna relate with you and be more grateful for your openness than they would ever judge you for your openness. And they would, I feel like honesty is disarming for people. And you'll find the real kind of friendship you're looking for if you're down to be honest.
Yeah, that's cool.
I would also say something that I want that I'm still kind of hesitant toward, and I'm not sure exactly why, but is the idea of having a mentor, someone that will be a step ahead or a couple steps ahead of you, or many steps ahead of you in life, in terms of like experience. If they've been married longer than you, you know, talk to someone who's been married for a while that you trust and that you look up to. We need all kinds of different people to know us and truly know us. So it's super cool and super life-giving to have a friend that's your age, that's in your experience, to be able to be vulnerable with and be honest with. But I think it's also good to have people that have walked where you've walked.
Yeah.
Already.
For sure.
That they can speak more into and be more of the type of person to give advice rather than just walk alongside.
Yeah, I would say I almost go over the top with it, but I have a mentor that's a real deep spiritual mentor that he's in his 60s, that he's walked through a lot, and I've learned a lot spiritually from him. And then I started meeting with a guy who's kind of also in business, who's also on the same faith and as I am as well. So to get someone who's also spiritually, but also professionally understands what you're going through has been super helpful. And then I just started meeting with a group of guys where it's like 6 of us. It's real early in the morning, Wednesday mornings, and it's hard to get there. But it's so life-giving to have that time where you're going through, like you said, you're going through the same type of thing, but also you're all going towards Jesus, or you're all going towards the same goal. And I've found so much life in that. So
yeah.
I can attest that it's definitely worth it. I'm going to put a little product in there.
Okay.
Kind of define it a little bit. So Northern Lights by Sheer Revival. Nice dry look.
I'm thinking about if there's any other advice I would give to someone struggling to be vulnerable. I think it would be that it's best to just be who you are. And your life is your life and your past is your past. Like, you're not gonna convince people that you have a different story than the one that you have. So I think you can embrace what's happened in your life, and you know, like I said, I have some messiness too that I just after a while I need to know that's just part of my life and it's part of my story. So if I try to hide behind it and try to hide it, it's just going to come out at some point in my life to the ones that are closest to me. So I think I'd rather be the one to invite them into that. And it's actually the best thing for you. The most free you can be.
Really good?
That's it. I love it. That's great. Thank you.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.